These are the ingredients I'll be using in the curry. A few of these are interchangeable, some are standard every time. Like your base will always be mushrooms and spring onion, or mushrooms and onion. Yeah, you can do a lot with just mushrooms, onion and coconut cream. So yeah, the rest can change and vary, but always using mushrooms and onion. If you can't get spring onion, just use a whole regular onion, red or normal, doesn't matter. And then this is just leftover from the pizza. Then I usually put in 2 medium size or large size carrots, 4 or 5 depending on the size baby marrows, 1 whole sweet bell pepper. I don't always put in tomatoes, but yeah, sometimes it can be nice. I don't always put in radishes, but yeah, it's something I put in every now and again. Green beans, I almost always use green beans and chop them up fine. Some sugar snap peas, 2 decent size orange sweet potatoes if you can get them. If you can't get orange skin sweet potatoes, just use butternut or pumpkin. Sometimes I will throw in a bit of corn, not always, but it is quite nice. More often than not, throw in the whole corn. Alright, these are your crucial ingredients. Starting off with obviously your pink Himalayan salt. This is your secret weapon. Nina Palmer's chicken flavored stock powder. I would stock up on this. Get a couple of them, you don't want to run out. This is a secret ingredient, a secret weapon. I use it in almost all of my cooking. Not a whole lot of it, but it can really help boost the flavor of your meals. Then we have your authentic Durban curry spice. And these 2 are crucial: turmeric and ground cumin. And I'll get to the amounts that you use in a second. Garlic, crushed garlic. Chickpeas. For this recipe, I'll be using 2 cans. The amount of ingredients you use, it depends on the size of the curry that you're making, obviously. Okay, so for this curry, I'm using one of these large pots. I always use a large pot. And I'm going to probably end up about here. Coconut milk, I generally use coconut cream, but up here in Bulzoek I struggle to find decent coconut cream. I only have one of these left, so I'm using coconut milk, but generally you want a creamier consistency, so go with the cream. And I'm using 3 cans for this amount of ingredients, which obviously you would adjust if you're using less veg. The next crucial ingredient, extra virgin olive oil, cold pressed. Try and make sure that it's from one farm and it's not a blend from different farms, because you can't trust the quality. And we're just gonna load it up. Get a good amount there. Olive oil is extremely healthy, so I don't know if you can see, but it's basically just a decent amount of olive oil to cover the base. I always start with the mushrooms. Get those chopped. Boom. That was quick, wasn't it? So these brown mushrooms turned out to be way more than what they looked. So I'm not gonna use all of these as well, just add in a little bit. But I'll be putting the rest of these back in the fridge. Okay, so my video bombed out, I don't know what happened there. Basically, I just added the mushrooms, give it a good stir in the olive oil to make space on the chopping board for the spring onion. And then we put this on a low heat, and we'll turn it up later. Lid on. Get rid of these fuzzy ends. And give them a nice little dice. Voila. Just like that. And pop those in. Try catch the runaways, because spring onion is really poly. Needs to run off the chopping board. Give it a good stir. Give these spring onions and mushrooms a nice good browning whilst we're busy chopping the rest. And now I like to add in my harder vegetables that take a bit longer to cook, so that they can soften up sooner. I'm gonna dice some carrots. I like to go half and half. It makes it easier to do two at a time, and then you just choop, choop, choop. And done. Next up, we're going to do the green beans, because they're also quite a firm vegetable. It takes a bit longer to cook than other things. I'm not going to use the whole 300 gram pack. I'm probably going to use just more than half. Split these in two groups. A dice. Very good stir. At this point in time, I will start throwing in a bit of salt. So basically, I just go around a couple of times, give it a fair amount. That's about it. This pink salt from Woolies comes out fairly quick, so if you kind of match that motion, you should be okay. I generally end up adding a bit more towards the end because it's not salty enough. So I start off like that and then taste towards the end if it needs more. Next up is the sweet pepper, which is Pluto's favorite. Hey Poots. More pepper eater. Okay, this next load I decided to just do the bell peppers, the radishes and the sugar snap peas all at once. A really fast and easy way to cut your marrows is straight down the middle, flip it over, straight in half again, and then chop, diced. Middle, turn, middle, dice. Quick and easy. Most of our veg is in, or all of our veg except for the tomatoes and the sweet potato. That we will add in a little bit because those get soft really quickly. We don't have to add those in immediately, and the sweet potato we will be steaming in the microwave anyway. Now we will add our spices. I always start with the turmeric and cumin. So the amount you will use will be dependent on the size of the curry you're making. So generally if you're making about a half a pot, I would do 1 teaspoon. If you're making a full pot, like this one will be right up to probably about here, I would do probably like 1.5. What I just do is I do a full teaspoon and then I just kind of go over it a little bit. It doesn't have to be super precise. And the same with the cumin. I do a full teaspoon. This is quite a large teaspoon we have here. I know teaspoons vary in size, but yeah, I'm gonna just run over a little bit. So it's more like a teaspoon and a half. And then you can always add a little bit of cumin towards the end if you feel like it needs it, but generally it won't. We add our curry spice. Depending on how spicy you want it, I generally just do 1 heaped. Actually, I don't even usually go that big. Like 1 heaped teaspoon. If you want a little bit extra kick, you can go a little bit, like a half teaspoon more. But generally 1 heaped teaspoon for like half a pot will be quite, or with this spice you'll feel it nicely on the tongue, won't be too burning. Then we're gonna add chicken stock powder. I don't do this by measurement or anything. I just kind of, I know I'd say that's about a heaped tablespoon. Yeah, I'd say about a heaped tablespoon of the chicken stock. Of garlic. I'm gonna do a nice portion of garlic, maybe a smidge more. Give this a good mix. Simmer there with the veg and the curry spice. Right, at this point in time, we're going to start prepping our sweet potatoes. Orange, beautiful. Like I said, if you don't have these, you can just use butternut or pumpkin. Generally, I use butternut over pumpkin. Right, if you don't have one of these veggie steamers, do yourself a favor. These things are amazing. So we're gonna pop our sweet potatoes in the microwave for probably with this much about 12 minutes. To get them nice and soft, they need to be really soft to the point where they just mush and fall apart. They're basically going to form part of our sauce. We're not going to actually have chunky whole bits of sweet potato. They're going to just soften so much that it just turns into a puree in the curry. And the same thing with the butternut or the pumpkin, except you won't microwave those for as long as you will sweet potatoes, obviously. Sweet potatoes are harder. So I almost forgot the sweet corn, but that's okay. The sweet corn doesn't have to be super soft. It's already just lovely the way it is. So the veg is getting nice and soft. It's soaking up all the spices. Add in the sweet corn. At this point, we're also going to start adding our cream. Rinse your chickpeas. Give them a good rinse. Chickpeas are going in, and you see how much it's thickening up already. And in goes our tomato. Give you a close up. So taste concludes. I'm going to add a little bit more salt and maybe a pinch more curry spice, because it's such a big pot. I fold it right to the top. Just needs that little bit extra. So I'm going to add about a half a teaspoon. This is a smaller teaspoon than the one I used earlier. Just give it a little bit more kick. And the salt, I'm really just gonna give it a little quick shake or eyeball. taste again at the end. I'm gonna turn the heat down quite a bit, by about half. Give it a good stir because I just added that extra spice and salt. Cover up and simmer for 10 minutes. Our sweet potato is still in the microwave, but we're just gonna leave it there for now, and we're gonna let this just get to a boil and turn the heat down and let it just slowly simmer for a good 10 to 15 minutes at least before we add our sweet potato. We only add the sweet potato in right at the very end. Boiling the kettle to cook either if you're cooking rice, or in my case I'm cooking millet, and I'm going to show you how I cook. So I'm going to do 1.5 cups of water for 1 cup of millet. Stir around. Cover it immediately. And put it on the lowest heat your stove can possibly go. It must just simmer like barely. Set a timer immediately once it's on and the lid's closed for 15 minutes. In our sweet potatoes, and our timer just went off for our millet, and I just gave the pot a little tilt, and you can see still a little bit of water in the bottom, so I'm just leaving it on for an extra 2 minutes. I'm just going to drain the sweet potatoes. We've got our sweet potatoes here. I'm going to remove the grease, and then take our knife and just chop even more, mash them up mushy. And you do the same if you're using butternut or pumpkin. In a little over 2 minutes, and our millet is ready. As you can see, if I tilt it, we're not getting any water coming up in the bottom corner there. So now we just cover this and leave it to rest on a cool surface. Our sweet potato. At the brim now. I'm going to turn the heat way down, and then once you've given it a good mix, we're going to leave the lid off and then just simmer for an extra 10 minutes. Should be done. I'll do one final taste test after that 10 minutes. It's probably not going to need anything, but if it does need a little bit of salt, we just add a little bit of salt. One thing you can do is use the back of the ladle and just smush down to get that sweet potato really broken down and allow it to become part of the sauce instead of being its own individual vegetable. And it also helps for the tomatoes to also sort of become part of the sauce. As you can see, the color gets a lot more richer and darker as you do that. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes or so. I'm gonna take a fork and slowly fluff up our millet by raking it from the top. Rake it, rake it, rake it. That here ready to dish up, and I did a final taste of the curry and it is spot on, so it doesn't need anything more. And at this point you're basically done. You got your millet ready, fluffed and ready. We have the curry just simmering. Just gonna let that simmer for about 10 minutes. While the curry is cooking for that last 10 minutes, we will grab our avocado. We'll chop our avocado in half, and we will also grab our coriander, if I can find it. This is also a must-have ingredient on the curry. It just really enhances the flavor. So I've cut the avo in half. We're gonna go round the skin, and we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 in a grid. And then you're just gonna squeeze 1/2 over each plate of curry. And we're gonna dice up our cilantro, or coriander as we call it here in South Africa. Right, we are ready to dish up. Take our avo, squeeze it out, some coriander, and voila, you are done. Hey guys, just some notes I forgot to mention. The sweet potatoes took a little longer than 12 minutes. It was more like 14 to 15 minutes. And I almost always use peas in the recipe, except I couldn't find any in Bullshoek or Clanwilliam. So I just went with what I could get my hands on. And also leeks are really nice to add. So I usually add leeks, and yeah. That's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the food, and yeah, happy eating.